Today's episode of Michigan's Legends and Haunts is sponsored by Podcorn. If you run a podcast and haven't heard about Podcorn, we're here to tell you all about it.
Podcorn is an online marketplace that connects podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities, such as host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. The best part about Podcorn is there is no middleman.
Podcasters of all sizes, big and small, can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform, set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities.
You never give up any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is here to support you at every step and ensure you're protected and compensated for the work that you do for brands.
The marketplace mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize.
If you're a podcaster, make sure you click the link in the show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities.
Hello, and welcome to Paranormal Monday on Michigan's Legends and Haunts. Today, we talk about the lost painting and the ghost of Little Grace.
Welcome. What is that? To Michigan's Legends and Haunts.
All right. So the lost painting and the ghost of Little Grace. So it may sound like this is two different legends. It's not. This goes hand in hand with each other. So let's just jump right into it and get the ball rolling. So this took place, actually it took place all over the place here, but this began in the fall of 1885, and this was in Ontonogan. The girl's name was Grace Adams. She was working on a painting of a little girl. The painting has been described as looking like a cherub with little yellow curls around her face. She had worked on the little girl's face for days, trying to get it just right and show an expression that captured how she felt inside. On the painting, the little girl was wearing a sort of robe and hood that looked like what a monk would wear, and she was clutching a small bowl in her hands. At the time, Grace was in bad health ever since she was a small child due to a bout of scarlet fever. She was reportedly always a very good artist, and at this time, at 18 years old, was aspiring to make being an artist her career. The painting she was working on was intended to be a Christmas gift for another girl who went by the name of Grace Mercer. She was the wife of James Mercer, who, at the time, was a legislative representative that lived in the same village. Mrs. Mercer was somewhat of an artist herself and had shown Grace great interest and support in her aspirations. However, in November of 1885, Grace fell ill and was mostly bedbound, only able to sit at her easel for a few minutes at a time. Despite her illness, she managed to finish the painting by early December. By then, however, the painting had turned out to take on a different tone, gloomy with an eerie light seemingly illuminating the painting from one of the top corners. The empty bowl that the girl clutched was still there, however, had become the focal point of the entire painting. The empty bowl would become symbolic for the events to come. So Grace's mother ended up having to deliver the painting to Mrs. Mercer just before Christmas in 1885, and a few days later, Grace Adams passed away. Unable to deal with the grief and constant reminders of her lost child, after her funeral, her mother removed everything in the home that made her think of Grace. Any artwork Grace had ever created, gone. Mrs. Mercer loved the painting that Grace created for her and feared that Grace's mother would come to collect and destroy the painting, so she hid it under a set of built-in drawers in a stairwell. Mrs. Mercer's fears became reality when a few days later, Elizabeth, Grace's mother, showed up at the home asking for the painting. Mrs. Mercer lied to Grace's mother and told her that the picture had been sent out to be framed properly to preserve it better and that it had been lost in the mail. That picture was never put back on display as long as the Mercers lived in the home.
I think it's really weird that she wanted to get rid of everything that had to do with her daughter.
Right.
I mean,
no reminder whatsoever.
Even a painting that she didn't even have in her house, she just wanted it gone. That's weird.
It doesn't make sense.
No, That's really strange.
So now we're moving forward quite a few years. Actually, about 60 years. In 1945, new owners by the names of Charles and Ellen Willman moved into the Mercer house with their two sons, Royce and John. While cleaning out the new home, the oldest of the two boys, Royce, found the painting in the stairwell built-ins. The Willman family was so in love with the painting that after 60 years, the painting went back on display. Now, we're going to move forward even further. So, in the not so far away past, the fuck am I trying to say? in not too long ago.
There you go.
There we go. Actually, in like 1997. So, the painting was put on display and nobody knew who the artist was. Right. So, by pure chance, the identity of the artist was revealed, and that was, like I said, in 1997. Betty Burke, who lived in Elsinore, California, was doing research on her family roots when she discovered that Grace Adams would have been her great-aunt. She paid a visit to the Ontonogan County Historical Museum because she knew that it housed many photos of her family that lived in the area. By the time Betty made her way to Ontonogan, the Willman parents had passed away and the house was still in the family, now owned by Royce. When Royce heard of Betty's visit, somebody just like go to his house and be like, "Hey, Betty's visiting." Like, what? However,
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, when he heard that Betty was visiting, he had a feeling that he should take the painting, which was still hanging in the home, to the museum for her to inspect. Betty confirmed that the painting was the last work of her great-aunt, Grace Adams.
How did she know? Wait. How did he know, Royce? How did he know that Betty had anything to do with that painting? Because
no clue.
She didn't know. Nobody knew who the artist was. Yeah.
No idea. No clue. I'm just as confused on that one as you are. So Royce, now knowing the identity of the mystery artist, saw the painting in a whole new light. He placed the painting in an ornate gold frame and rehung it in the home. So now we're moving forward to 2001. In August of 2001, Royce and a few friends were discussing the painting, which had by then been named Little Grace, and they decided to try reproducing it for sale. It took 2 tries, but they saw great results.
So he hung it in the house that he was living in, where the lady had hid it under the stairs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because he moved in there with his parents when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then he took over the house when they died.
Right. So he hung it back up and just kept it there.
Yep. So this is where things get kind of interesting. Today's episode of Michigan's Legends and Haunts is sponsored by Podcorn. If you run a podcast and haven't heard about Podcorn, we're here to tell you all about it.
Podcorn is an online marketplace that connects podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities, such as host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. The best part about Podcorn is there is no middleman.
Podcasters of all sizes, big and small, can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities.
You never give up any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is here to support you at every step and ensure you're protected and compensated for the work that you do for brands.
The Marketplace mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when we monetize.
If you're a podcaster, make sure you click the link in the show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities.
So a woman by the name of Maureen Guzik, who helped Royce reproduce the painting, was asleep shortly after they had reproduced the painting when she awoke from a dead sleep at what she had reported at 4:37 a.m. A few minutes after she awoke, a cold draft seemed to make its way into her room, and with the cold, along came what Maureen described as fingers of light, which crept into her room through the window and stretched across it, almost like a mist. Maureen reported that as the mist stretched across the room, it began to gather into a ball, and then a face emerged from it. Maureen tried asking who the mysterious figure was, but got no response. Again, forcefully, she asked, "Who sent you? What do you want?" And a clear feminine voice responded with, "Royce sent me." At that point, Maureen yelled out, "Grace Johnson."
Royce sent her?
Yeah,
Wow.
that Royce sent her.
Okay.
Which, I don't know why she's yelling Grace Johnson when her name was Grace Adams. But I'm going off of my research.
Was Grace Johnson the one that had the painting?
No, that was Grace Mercer.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Who knows? But at that time, the figure had become clear as day. In Maureen's words, quote, "She came out in full form. She sat on the love seat beside my bed. She was smaller than me, maybe 5'3" or 5'4", and very thin. She had medium dark brown hair with a little natural curl that lay just below her collarbones. She wore a long printed dress that fell gracefully over her legs."
Oh my God.
Maureen had a feeling on why the ghost of little Grace was there and asked her, point blank, if she was there about the painting, and told her how absolutely beautiful it was and assured her that they weren't going to do any harm to it. She then explained that they were reproducing the painting because they felt that everyone should be able to have one in their home. The apparition of Grace Adams reportedly expressed her concern and that her unfulfilled recognition for her work was why she made herself known. Maureen claims that after they talked a little while, both of them got up and exchanged a hug. Maureen said, quote, "I can still feel the warmth of her arms around my shoulders, and I can feel the skeletal structure of her back on the palms of my hands." As little Grace began to drift away, Maureen recounted, quote, "Don't go. I have so many questions." And little Grace faded away.
That's so weird. How do you feel the warmth? And that's so weird. And they just sat and had a conversation. They sat and chatted a little while and got up and had a hug. Okay.
So the warmth thing actually, I think, gets explained.
Oh, okay.
Here, coming up. Which is kind of interesting.
I didn't see anything about that.
So, as Maureen, no, I'm assuming. I'm assuming in the next part. So, Maureen turned to lay back down in bed, only to see herself still lying down, and realized that she was out of her own body, watching herself sleep.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. So they were on the same level. So warmth, I
Yikes.
guess, would be possible. Yeah, yikes is right.
I don't
That would
like that.
freak me out.
Yeah.
I would know.
Well,
Like astroplaning or some shit.
people have,
Like,
out of body experiences.
No, thank you.
It's a real thing.
I know it's a real thing.
It happens.
Oh,
Hope
that
it
would
happens
freak me
to
out.
you.
Can you imagine? Fuck off. Can you imagine though, like just like looking down and being like, "Oh, there I am," and then you're
No.
not sure, like, are you dead? Are you alive? Are you just
Oh.
fucking yeah?
What did you do? Just lay back over her own body?
I don't know.
Ooh,
I don't know. It was freaky, though. Maureen went the next morning to tell Royce what had happened, but to her surprise, he was not shocked by the events, telling Maureen that he, too, had spoken to Grace the evening before.
Oh, he sent her.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
When the first dozen reproductions were created, the first one sold within hours.
Wow.
The search continues for more works from Grace Adams, whose spirit only wants one thing, recognition for her work, but the chances of finding more are slim to none.
Right, because her mom got rid of everything.
Right. So, and that is The Lost Painting and the Ghost of Little Grace. So what do you think? This is more along the level of what we've actually kind of experienced.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never hugged a ghost. I've never had an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
But this is more along the lines of things we've seen.
It's believable. I mean, it makes total sense, too. You know, she put everything into making those paintings, and then she died.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what did she die of again?
She fell ill.
Scarlet fever.
Well, she had scarlet fever as a young child.
Oh, okay.
And then it just says she fell ill, so I don't know what it could have been at that point.
Well, you know, it was the 1800s, so...
It literally could have been like
a
congested like upper respiratory infection or something.
Yeah.
You know? But very, very interesting story, I thought. And I thought it deserved its its day here on Mila. For sure.
You need to post the painting.
I found it.
Good.
I have it saved on my phone.
Too.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
It is.
The bowl, I mean, it is like centered around the empty bowl or whatever, but it's also a little bit creepy. But I feel like, you know, the story behind it makes it more creepy. But it is old and just kind of that eerie type of painting.
Right. Yeah. It is very, very interesting. I still don't understand why the mom would want to get rid of all of her stuff.
I don't know. You have parents that leave their children's bedrooms completely like untouched when they pass, and then you have people that apparently get rid of literally everything. I mean, I think I would regret doing that, because then what? You just have memory. I don't know. Maybe she couldn't handle it.
Maybe it's possible.
Yeah,
but not a whole lot to discuss on this one. It's just a really interesting story.
It is.
I thought, you know, the painting, and then nobody really knowing who the artist is, and then all of a sudden they find out, and you know, one thing leads to another, and then the girl kind of comes out and is like, "Hey, I'm Little Grace."
Right, and it was hidden away for so long too.
Right.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So, just an interesting Michigan legend / haunt. Thought it was cool.
/ haunt. Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Really just one instance. Not really a haunted, like, consistently haunted place, but...
I wonder how much they went for, the paintings.
I'd be curious, too.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to find out. Okay, so here's something. So I just found the picture of the original painting. It is still in the gold frame.
Oh, yeah.
It's being held at the Ontonogan County Historical Society now.
Cool.
So... yeah. Very interesting, though. It is really interesting.
Let me see it.
Because it really does have, like, that light coming from, like, the top right corner. And then your eye does kind of drift and kind of focus on that bowl.
Yeah.
I'm not an artiste, and I'm not, like, a art snob, and I don't know anything about art.
Right.
But the painting is intriguing.
Yes.
For sure. And it really does, if you like really look at it and kind of like notice some of the details, it really does kind of show you how this girl was feeling, you know, inside and physically, and how she was getting sicker and sicker. So very, very, very cool. I will post that up on our Instagram.
Yeah.
For sure. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking to you on the next episode.